So it's coming towards the end of July now, and you probably have noticed that there's quite a few berries and nuts on the trees, and you probably want to start planting these, but unfortunately it is just a wrong time to start growing these and taking them off the trees, as they are not fully developed yet. And you probably want to wait till autumn or anything like that. As soon as you start dropping off the trees and you can see that they're mature, you can start planting them. It's not like if a couple little acorns fall off, you want to make sure that they're fully developed so you can start growing them. But you probably want to start growing some trees right now, so I'm going to show you something absolutely amazing, and you might not even realize that you have it. Here on in this hazel tree, there's quite a few nuts. These are not mature though, it's just what's blown off or what the squirrels have pulled off thinking they're ready nuts when they're not. It's simply not the right time to be picking these off and try to grow them, because you'll simply get nothing. So you're thinking, if we've got no nuts, no berries ready to plant, how are we going to get these trees? Well, we're not going to grow any new trees. What we're going to do is we're going to help other ones grow. So basically what I'm talking about is, you might find in your lawn some little acorns that have sprouted and grown into little oak saplings. Instead of just mowing these off or pulling them out as weeds, you might want to probably transplant these into a pot or a garden bed to grow a little bit longer before you transplant them into their permanent position, or you may just want to put them in their permanent position right now. Squirrels tend to bury their acorns in soft ground. I find that they like to bury some of their acorns in my mulch, and I will often get some little trees growing around some of my apple trees, so I can just gently pull these out and put them in a small bed to grow for a little bit longer until I can transplant them into their permanent position. So to get something like an oak tree out your lawn, the best thing to do is cut quite a deep wedge down into the ground so you get that vital taproot out of the ground, and then you can start to pull off some of the turf from around the base of the sapling. That's the best way to get them out, in my opinion, especially out of a lawn, instead of trying to pull them out, because then you just go to damage them more. Another useful tree that grows from nuts is hazel. Here we have some hazels growing under some hawthorn and another hazel tree. We have two here, they're very close together, but I'm going to leave both of them as they may get damaged. One of them may get damaged and the other one can survive, but if they both grow and I can see that they're definitely going to survive, I'll transplant one of them elsewhere. They're growing right underneath a old hawthorn tree here, where it seems like the ivy has got hold of this one, and we could cut this off, but eventually this tree will just get weaker and weaker as it gets older, and these hazels will take over. So if they're in the right place, you might as well leave them, but just keep an eye out for them so you can probably protect them from squirrels if you have a major problem with that, or any sort of other wild animals such as rabbits or deer nibbling the tops off. You might want to put like a little cage around it or something. Just behind me here we have a great example of a hazel tree that has self-set or been planted by a squirrel or something, and it has grown very well, and it's filling up this gap here, and it's right in the line of the hedge, so it will be absolutely brilliant. Maybe when it gets a little bit bigger we can start to coppice it, but for now it's growing really strong. I've got to just keep an eye on it to make sure it doesn't start to get damaged by anything, but I'm sure it's absolutely fine here. So I also have quite a few self-set willow trees, especially goat and bay willow will self-set from seed. Here we have a bay willow, I believe it's a bay willow at least, and it's growing quite well here. It first came from a boggy area where some seeds had sprouted, and then I mowed over it and they sort of came back even stronger with multiple stems, and then as the soil builds around them, you can just sort of cut them off as the new shoots root out, and you can get even more trees like that. However, I would recommend, if you're going to grow some sort of goat or bay willow, to especially make sure you cut it back, or some sort of pollarding, or even if it's a young tree, you can start coppicing it. This will stop it falling over, as they do tend to get quite tall quite quickly, and yeah, it's not a good thing when they start to topple over. Things like crack willow, what I tend to just call normal willow, as it's the most common around here, that doesn't seed as vigorously as goat and bay willow. I tend to just take cuttings off this in winter time and just shove the sticks in the ground and they'll grow. This is good to do with hybrid willows too. You can probably take cuttings off goat and bay willow, but what I'm saying is you can get some trees right now, even if it's not winter, to take cuttings. When you're transplanting trees, it's probably best to do it in the winter. You can probably flag some out if you want to, but if it's growing in your lawn, you don't want to be mowing around them for ages. You might as well mow them off then. But what I'm saying is, if you can identify some trees now, you can transplant them elsewhere to grow on. It's all about knowing what the trees look like as well. I recommend the Woodland Trust's tree identification app. It's really handy. It doesn't have every single tree on it, but it's got quite a few of the common trees that you might find, and this will help if you don't know what the trees are and you can identify them. Young tree saplings are typically have a woody stem, unlike some weeds which are more softer, but if you get to know the leaves, that's fine. Unfortunately, a lot of the younger leaves are very different. That's why I like to leave it till about this time, unless I start to notice them earlier. Things like oak trees are very distinctive. Birch trees you'll find growing in pots or some sort of gravel. You want to probably get those a little bit earlier, probably before a massive heat wave comes, because as soon as they dry out, they will go all crusty and just die. So there's quite a wide range of trees you can be finding around your garden, and it will also help if you want to plant any more in your space, or probably give some away to a friend or a neighbour or whatever. You can at least know that it's self-set there because it grows well in that area. Obviously, unless it's an invasive species, you can probably identify that on the internet or whatever. Probably do your research on the tree first and what it looks like, so you know what you're planting. But things like, if you just get an apple pip as well, you can plant them pretty much any time of the year, because they grow really quickly. They don't always need stratification. I'd still like to put them in a wet paper towel though, so I get the best results for things like apple seeds. But they do grow really quickly, so you can plant them pretty much any time of the year. So I just wanted to do this video to show you an easy way to get some trees for pretty much free. And you can grow quite a wide range of things without even leaving your garden. And if you've got more space, maybe some land with some hedgerows, you can look in there and see what's growing. Maybe something's coming out onto the edge a bit too much, so you can just transplant it a bit further in. So I'd just say it's worth having a look around and just seeing what's growing, so you can probably transplant it. You can also do these things with what you'd call weeds. Probably you can see some foxglove seedlings coming up in spring. You can always transplant those elsewhere, but just watch what you're doing and what you're touching, and it's best to do your research first. I would try and identify every single tree for you, but one, I don't know every single tree and I'd be here for a long time. So I hope you found this video or somewhat useful, and if so, please remember to click that like button and maybe subscribe. It would really help. And also, a large portion of my viewers are not subscribed, so if you want to keep up to date, make sure you subscribe with notifications on. So please let me know down below in the comments what trees you found in your garden and what you're going to do with them. It'll be a great thing to hear, and we can all share all our tips and knowledge in the comment section below. Thank you for taking time to watch this video, and I think it's time for me to get going as it's starting to rain now, and I hope to see you all in the next video.